Yeah, let's. So obviously, a lot of people, everyone would have seen the mass shooting in the United States. The
Yes.
It was a female to male transition, so to speak.
Let me just
Um,
say before we continue on that point, the female to male transition. It doesn't surprise me that a woman being injected with testosterone, the primary male androgen, or the primary male sex hormone, is going to lose her mind and open fire on children at a public school. I mean, I'm sure there's a range of different factors that pertain to this individual: mental health, personal experiences, personal trauma, that kind of thing. I think we just lost Joel briefly, but I'm sure he'll be back. But as I said, there's probably a number of things that pertain to that individual. However, you're much more likely to get a psycho if you inject a woman with testosterone than if you inject a man with estrogen, right? You inject a man with estrogen, what are you going to get? You're going to get him to be more emotional, more passive, more agreeable, less likely to lash out, less likely to go against the grain, less likely to take risks. Basically, you're producing, the perfect proletariat peasant in the modern day, which is probably why there's estrogen in the tap water, and possibly in processed foods, microplastics. I haven't seen all the data, but I've seen bits and pieces, and it's pretty alarming. So you put the prime male androgen into the body of a woman. What are you going to get? You're going to get a woman who's going to be behaving more like a man, but not like a man who has been raised to be a gentleman, who has been raised to understand and restrain himself, right? Because as a man, that's something that you learn. When you're a boy, you aren't so restrained, and you tend to discover more often than not the hard way. It was like that for me anyway. It's important to restrain yourself and to not give in to your compulsive nature. So it frightens me to think of what that could produce. Injecting testosterone into a woman. That's frightening stuff. But I don't know what Joel's doing. Joel drives these streams, as you guys know, and I kind of just provide backup commentary. And like I've been abandoned, so now I'm running this thing on my own. But we'll get into that school shooting, which happened in Nashville, America. And I posted about it because I saw the police footage, and I posted it to my public Telegram channel. I was surprised that the police released body cam footage of them shooting the character responsible for this atrocity. And it is an atrocious thing to murder children. This is children that weren't even known to this person. And I'm not usually the sort of guy who gets into, oh, this is so horrible. Good golly gosh, let's all feel sorry for someone. But kid killing really doesn't sit well with me. It shouldn't really sit well with anybody, right? Obviously. But I am surprised that the police released this footage, and I don't know what to think of that. As always, whenever something like this happens and the footage of the shooting or the incident is made public, it's someone out there is going to say it's fake. It's not real. It seems real to me, but it could be fake. I don't know. And that's a good way to go into everything like this. When you see stuff like this, it's good to believe nothing. It's good to entertain the possibility, any possibility. This could be real, this could be fake, but not actually to invest in either of those possibilities. But my general take on this was that transgenders don't exist, and the people that we present as transgenders, the people who are constantly exposed these days as transgenders, and this lifestyle of transgenderism, it's false. All transgenders are transvestites. A transvestite was traditionally understood as somebody who enjoyed dressing up like a member of the other sex. I'm not going to get into the reasons why they might do that. I personally don't understand. Some sort of fetish, I suppose. So when you look at what transgenders are actually doing, that's all they're doing at the end of the day. They're just transvestites. They are not members of the other gender or sex. They're just acting like they are and dressing up as though they are. And a lot of the time, they're encouraged by modern medicine, psychologists, and modern culture to actually believe that they're a member of the other sex, right? And that is delusional. Not only is it delusional, but it's dangerous. And it's about time it's understood by an ordinary person that these people aren't just delusional, they are dangerous. And this shooting in Nashville should demonstrate that more clearly than anything I can say to you. One of the reasons these people are so dangerous is because they're generally addicted to a plethora of drugs. The first thing that happens when you go through this gender transition lifestyle, especially if it happens to you young, if you've got the kind of parents that are going to, or parent, usually a single lesbian mother, that's going to put you through that kind of stuff as a child, then the first thing you're going to be exposed to is some sort of hormone replacement therapy, usually hormone blockers. They block you from your natural puberty process. I know this because, there's young kids in my family, teenagers in my family, and some of them have friends, and a couple of their friends have actually been through this and are currently going through this. It's more common than you might think, surprisingly common. I don't want to say it's very common, like it's not something that's happening frequently enough in order to, justify the amount of exposure this so-called transgenderism gets these days, but it's still happening more often than it used to. And I think that's because it is, more widely facilitated and encouraged by popular culture. And, those single lesbian mums that probably would have had their children taken off them 30 or 40 years ago are now, legitimized, encouraged. Their theories about their children being a different gender are legitimized by the state and by the culture at large, right? So first you start off on those puberty blockers, and then you've got depression and bipolar and ADHD and probably something else as well. And so then you've got medication for all those different things. And those medications don't work, so then they flip them over and try to give you different medications. And those medications are causing you mood problems. So then they also prescribe you mood stabilizers. But then you're also depressed, so then you've got antidepressants. But then the antidepressants kill your sex drive, and you can't really feel aroused by anything anymore. You feel like an empty shell of a human being. So they have to give you a different drug to try to stimulate your sexual desire, right? This is normal, common practice, not just for transgenders, but for most children these days. Not most children, but a lot of children. A lot of children that go down the path of I'm bipolar or I'm ADD, you're really just opening yourself up to a range of different prescription medications, which are extremely addictive and destructive, right? And the reason these transgenders, as I said, they're not really transgenders, they're transvestites. But the reason they're so dangerous is what I'm explaining right now. They're drug addicts, and they've been drug addicts since they were kids, a lot of them. Right? They've been through a great deal of trauma, and they've had their minds twisted, mostly as a result of their daily prescription drug habit. And it's mostly prescription drugs. They'll usually experiment with narcotics as well. And by narcotics, I mean street drugs. Actually, ice or crystal methamphetamine came from the gay community in Melbourne. That's how it first started in Melbourne anyway. I don't know where it came from in the rest of the world, but the first people to be cooking it, using it, were members of the gay community because it made them hypersexual and they could stay awake for days at a time having sex with each other. It was a big problem around the year 1995 from there to about 2005. There was a 10-year block there where the government made some sort of initiative to try to get these homosexuals, these gay people, to stop using ice because it was that bad. They would drive around in vans, pick each other up, drop each other off, spread around AIDS and smoke crystal meth and have sex with each other for days on end. But anyway, there's a similar story which can validate or further verify the point that I'm making, that not only are these people deranged, but they're dangerous. Not only that, but pushing this sort of lifestyle or accepting this kind of lifestyle of drugs and sex obsession and transvestite or transgenderism, pushing that onto people, not just onto people, but onto children, I think that's a crime against humanity. I think that's a repulsive crime against humanity. And you can't have a culture that's trying to normalize and promote the acceptance of that kind of thing without having the hard extreme, which I'm going to represent now. And the hard extreme is that shit is a repulsive crime against humanity. I'm not shifting on that. I'm not budging on that. It's sick, it's twisted, and it needs to be called out. It needs to be rejected at large.